All right. So now we will talk about task number 7, which is help ensure knowledge transfer. There would be a lot of opportunities in the project where you would need to understand what information was shared. You would record that information and you would want to convert that into knowledge so that your team understands what's happening in the project, the team understands how it has been carried out, and there is a continuity in the project. Now, the task name is help ensure knowledge transfer. So similar to all the other tasks that we have covered so far in the people domain, we would discuss what the task is. We will discuss why it is important. We'll try to understand some scenarios which will help you in understanding what could be there in the exam from this particular task and the mindset. Right? So trying to map this task. So in people domain, we are talking about the 7th task, help ensure knowledge transfer. We have covered the other 6 tasks so far. Now we are discussing the 7th. Similar to all the other tasks, we'll have an intro. Then we'll discuss what are the essential actions that a project manager should take in order to carry out this responsibility. Then we'll also discuss 3 scenarios which would help you in understanding how the questions are framed in the exam. And we'll discuss exam mindset, which will help you in understanding how to answer the questions. Right. So what do we mean by knowledge transfer? And what do we mean by the responsibility of ensuring knowledge transfer in the project? Right? Ensuring knowledge transfer means making critical project knowledge. Right? So whatever these knowledge are, the status of the project, the processes we are following, the methodologies, the approach, the resources, their performance, right? These are all critical project knowledge. So making these project knowledge available to the people who need it, when they need it, and in a form that they can understand and apply. Whenever you're trying to understand anything, right, trying to going through the definition helps a lot in that understanding. See, the line here, the sentence here is not saying that, okay, making the knowledge available in the project. It is saying making critical project knowledge available to the people who need it, when they need it, and in a form that they can understand, which means we'll have to take special care to first understand who would need this information, then to plan when they would need it, and to ensure that we keep this knowledge documented, accessible in such a form that if we share it with them or they access it, they are able to understand it, and not just understand, they should be able to apply it as well. Right? So just storing 26 GB of files in a file and folder and saying that, okay, this is the folder, go ahead, access this. Right? And you will understand everything about the project. They will understand nothing about the project. Okay. So when you share too much information, then it's no information. Right? What you should do is you should try to segregate the information, try to understand different forms of sharing the information, understand what you are sharing, how should you share, right? So there has to be a deliberate amount of effort put into ensuring that we are able to transfer the knowledge. There are two things to it. One is called tacit knowledge, and another is called explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge is very easy to share. Right? For example, PMP certification related information. Right? There are 3 domains, there are 26 tasks, these are the enablers, these are the tasks, why you should do the task, this is the scenario, and I can share that. I can record the video, I can share it with you, I can have a live session, I can share it with you, I can have some questions and answers, and I can share this knowledge with you, right? So this is called explicit knowledge. In your project also, you would have a lot of knowledge about project status, about resources, about tasks being completed, about tools being used. These are all your explicit knowledge, which can be easily shared. While there are something called tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is something which is very difficult to share. Right? So how should you prepare for PMP certification exam? Easy to share. How do I manage my own project? Is very difficult to share. So what will happen? You will have to sit with me in order to see how I manage the project. Whether I do it good or not is debatable. Okay. But if you want to learn how Amit must be managing the project. In such case, you will have to sit with me. If I want to know how you are managing project, I'll have to sit with you. And then I'll have to understand it. How do you respond to customer? How do you respond to the team members? When escalation happens, what happens to you? Right? When somebody praises you, what happens to you? So these are something which are your inner traits, which is very difficult to share. Your experience, the way you respond. Right? These are very difficult to share. And these are called tacit knowledge. Okay? As a project manager, you must ensure that you provide your team enough opportunities to share both tacit and explicit knowledge, which means you must record the documents, you must archive the documents, you must use version control, you must use configuration systems. But at the same time, you must provide enough opportunities for team members to meet with other team members, with suppliers, with customers, with management, because that's when they will learn what cannot be recorded. That's when they will learn what cannot be written and shared. Right? So both the type of knowledge are important. Keep this in mind in the exam also. You will have to answer the questions based on tacit and explicit, both type of knowledges. Right? Why is this so important? See, we are not managing project just for the sake of managing it. One of the important objective of any project is to ensure that the team, which was at a certain level of knowledge, has increased their level of knowledge. At the end of the project management team should be much better than they were before when the project started. Right? Knowledge creation and knowledge sharing would help a lot in that. Right? So let us try to see some points on why this task is important. First, it reduces dependency on individuals. Right? If there are people who are the only ones who know certain things, and if they are absent, then who will share the information? So you would want to capture certain kind of information with your project so that your dependency on a particular subject matter expert, particular person who has the knowledge reduces. It cannot be eliminated, but it reduces. Second, it also improves team performance, right? If you ensure that knowledge sharing is happening, one person will learn from another person will learn from this person, and together everybody will learn from everybody else. And that is why it is helping in improving team performance as well. Then, because you have shared knowledge, because you have captured knowledge, which means you have also captured the lessons that you have learned, you have also captured the problems that happened, how did you solve it, right? People can learn from those mistakes and it will prevent repeated mistakes. When knowledge is shared, when knowledge is captured, it helps in supporting the continuity and transition. When designers need to transition the information or transfer the information to people who will execute the work, when people who are executing the work needs to transfer some information to people who will test the work, when people who are testing the work needs to transfer the information to somebody who will check and accept the product, when they accept the product they would need to share the information with the operations team, right? So throughout the project there is always somebody who is sharing some information to somebody else and it flows, right? And that's why many people also call it as upstream and downstream. It's a very common language used in IT. Other companies also may use this term. Right? Upstream means somebody who is using the information now and they will share their knowledge of the project to somebody in downstream who will use that knowledge. Right? So project team will share that information to operations team. Operations team will start using the product that was developed. Right? Designers could share that information to somebody who is going to manufacture the work. Right? So this continuity would be balanced. This continuity would be smooth. This continuity would be continuous. Okay, if I can say so, if knowledge management is done properly. Right. Another point, it also strengthens the organizational capability. Your team learns, which automatically means that your organization is also learning. Right? Their knowledge is also growing. And if you store it properly, other people would be able to learn from your project. You will be able to learn from others' project, and everybody will be able to learn from each other. Right? So that's what knowledge transfer, establishing knowledge for continuity helps in the project, right? What does it do? It reduces dependency on individuals, improves team performance, you make less mistakes, you ensure that there's a continuity of information from upstream to downstream, and it also strengthens organizational capability, which means it is very, very important. Now, my question to you is, do you put enough effort in your project to ensure that you capture the documents well, to ensure that you provide the access to those documents to all the relevant people who need it? Do you think about the form in which you should store it? Do you think about how we should summarize this information and share to multiple people? Right? Do you think about the continuity of sharing the information? Right? If you are doing it, absolutely great. Right? And you must be doing it. There are always people who are documenting and everything, but we need to stop and think. Right? Are we doing it in the best way possible? What else can I do? How can I make this knowledge transfer even better? Right? Once you put efforts on that, your preparation for the PMP exam becomes easier because practically you are doing it. Otherwise, for the exam, we are already discussing this. Right? So what should the project manager do? First, identify what are the critical knowledge that we need to share, store, and transfer to somebody. Then gather and organize that knowledge. Select any appropriate transfer method which will help in transferring it properly. Right? It could be storing on a shared folder. It could be sharing through email. It could be sharing through WhatsApp. You should be creating a WhatsApp group. Anything is possible. You just need to figure out what should be the best transfer method. Then create a supportive environment. That environment is very, very important, where team members are supporting one another. If somebody is making a mistake, the other person is supporting them, right? And that's when they gain some knowledge, and that's why they become better in the project. Right? Similarly, if you have created the environment, if you're using the method, you need to also ensure that at a regular interval, you are verifying whether people understand whatever they need to understand and are they able to apply it or not. Right? If these actions are taken, it will help in ensuring the knowledge transfer in the project. Now let us see the scenarios that you might see in the exam. How do we answer it? What could be a good choice? And also how to avoid making mistakes in the questions. Right? Okay. All right. So this is scenario number 1. A subject matter expert or experienced team member will leave soon, and important knowledge is held primarily by that person. Right? As you can see, all the scenarios that we have discussed so far and that we will discuss in future also are very, very practical. Right? Almost all of you would have faced this scenario, that there is an experienced member who understands something better than something other people, and that person is now leaving. Right? And they have this knowledge that they will take with them. What should we do? Right? In such cases, again, we will follow the process, identify the critical knowledge, create a transfer plan, and use methods such as pairing, mentoring, demonstration, and documentation. Pairing basically means assign somebody to work with that senior member, at least till their notice period, so that this person will learn whatever they were doing. Both tacit and explicit knowledge would be gained. Right? Some kind of mentoring that this person can give before they leave, right? Demonstration of their work, the product that they have developed, and the documentation, not just documentation, right? Do not fall into an impression that if that person is leaving, we will be able to uh, capture all the information, all the knowledge that they have through documentation, and our team will learn. It will not happen. Okay, that is why we have notice periods before people leave. So use that notice period well. Ensure that people are working with them, seeing what they are doing. Everything should be captured. This way you will be able to improve the chances that you're capturing maximum knowledge. Okay. Also verify that other team members are able to understand and they can apply the knowledge. And not just understand it, but also apply the knowledge. So we'll have to verify it. Many a times I have seen in project teams, when the people have left, then we put all the blame on them. We have not done anything. That person had done it. Right? But as a project manager, you should know, you should be aware of it. Right? That when people will leave, all the blames will go to them. So ensure that you build a good knowledge transfer process. Okay. What should we avoid? We should avoid asking the expert only to write a document. Not a good thing. Any choice that says that we'll write a document and you just be a little bit critical about it, will writing just the document help in this transfer of knowledge or not? We should do something else also, which is to discuss, have workshop, have demonstration, have mentoring, have pairing. All those things are important, not just documentation. Also, delaying action until the final day of the person leaving or requesting an immediate replacement without transferring the knowledge, these things are going to hamper the project's progress. And hence, whenever you look at these options in the PMP exam, you should be a little bit critical about it. See, never do I say that you should eliminate it completely. Yes, there will be some option that you know that is wrong, but you should be critical because the test is on critical thinking. How do you compare the options and decide? Okay, so that's what you should do. Next scenario, new team members or people in different locations are unable to complete their work because they don't understand project processes or previous decisions. Right? So there are people in different locations and they don't have the same level of understanding. Right? That shared understanding is not there. And because of which they are not able to complete their work. What should we do? Right? We need to assess the knowledge gap. What is it that they don't know about the project? Arrange interactive transfer activities. Just again repeating, just sharing the information, just sharing the documents will not help. When we share the information, we also need to check that sender has sent the information to receiver, receiver has understand it and they're able to apply it, especially in terms of knowledge. We'll see the same thing when we'll discuss the next task, which is about communication. Right? But it is very, very important to have interactive discussions. Okay, what should we avoid? Avoid sending a large collection of documents, as I said, right? 256 GB of document, go ahead. You will understand everything in the project. It will not happen. Without explanation, it's of no use. Right? And assuming that people will learn on their own is also bad. Blaming is even worse. Right? So if you see any of these options, that we send a lot of all the documents to that person, or assuming that they will learn independently, or blaming them for slow performance is not a good thing. As a project manager, we need to understand what gap is there and try to resolve that. One more scenario, right? A project team is preparing to hand over the product, but the operational team is not confident that it can support or maintain it. Right? So what is happening? The handover is being planned from project to operations team, but operations team is not confident. What should we do in such cases? Right? Conduct a structured knowledge transfer session. Right? We talk about this, right? KT sessions. Provide accessible documentation and demonstration and verify their readiness before completing the transition. Discuss, understand from them, transfer the knowledge, and check regularly and whenever needed whether they have understood it or not before making the transition. What should you avoid? Do not close the project if your operations team is not ready. Do not close your project if they have not understood the project. Do not close the project and say that, okay, it is their headache, my job is done. Right? It is not their headache, it is also your headache, because it will become your headache if you don't handle the closure and transition properly. Okay, so any option that says that close the project after sending the documents, transfer the responsibility without confirming the readiness, or assuming that formal acceptance proves the understanding. If they have accepted it, it means they have understood it. That is also wrong. See, yes, there are certain things which you need on paper, but that is not all. Right? What is the main responsibility is also to be understood. Customer has signed their scope. Does that mean they have understood everything about the scope? Probably no. So you'll have to verify it. Operations team has signed the acceptance because of XYZ pressure. But have they really understood it? You have to verify it. And that's where people domain comes into picture. Otherwise, this 33% of people domain would not have been there in the exam. Right? You would have only followed the process. You only have only created the documents. You'll have set it the process, upload the document and done. Why do we spend so much time dealing with people if checklist and process and documents and tools were everything about project? It is not. right? So yes, you need to take the sign off. Yes, you need to do the documentation, and yes, you need to do carry out all the processes. But you cannot miss the people domain out of it. And people domain says, right, that once I send the documents, I will verify for the operational readiness. I'll check whether they have understood or not. And just because they have signed an acceptance paper, right, I will not say that my responsibility is done. My responsibility is to go beyond the papers and ensure that they have really understood. Otherwise, whatever happens, you can, yes, you can show the document and say that, yes, you had accepted it, and now you're asking questions, I will not come. Will that happen? If the customer is facing a problem, your management will ask you to go and carry out the operations activity if needed. Right? So, in order to avoid all those troubles later, we should not only become somebody who follows the checklist, but a leader who leads. Okay, very important task as well, just like all the other tasks. Okay, there are no tasks which are more important or less important, but this understanding is very important. Okay, what should be the mindset? The mindset is that we must transfer knowledge continuously. Transferring knowledge is not a one-step process or two, three process. It happens continuously, and we must establish that process well. Then identify the critical knowledge first. Right? Prioritization is a very important skill of a project manager. You cannot do everything at once. So you will have to prioritize what is the most important knowledge element to share and plan for it. Do not rely only on documentation. We have discussed this enough. Then verify the understanding, right? Don't just transfer the knowledge and leave it. Verify whether they have understood it or not. Verify whether they will be able to apply it or not. Also create psychological safety among your team members so that they don't feel stressed, so that they don't have a fear of making mistakes. Right? If they're making mistakes, discuss with them and help them understand that it's an opportunity to learn something new. It's an opportunity to gather that knowledge. Psychologically, they should feel safe working with you, working in that project, working in that organization. And it is your responsibility as a project manager. Okay. So that was the task, ensuring that knowledge transfer is happening properly in the project. Any questions in this, anyone? Anything that you would like to discuss? Okay. If not, then let's move to the last task of people domain.